afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another MSP Cyber Roundtable. If you didn't check out last week, we had some folks from Cyber Sanic on, Yasmin and Hayden. We had a conversation about the difference between MDR, XDR. We even talked about EDR a little bit. And then we talked about MGM. So we had lots of great acronyms for everybody last week. Make sure to like us on LinkedIn, check out our educational library on YouTube, and then please welcome Connor from Phin Security. Excuse me. We're excited to have you. We're going to talk about some selling, some compliance. I imagine we'll talk about some phishing related things.
Everyone's most favorite topics to discuss, for sure.
It's definitely a good time. So thanks for being on. We're going to be at IT Nation in 2 weeks. We wanted to make sure to let everybody know about that. Are you going to be joining?
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have to rub elbows and talk when we're there. How's everybody doing today?
I'm exhausted, man. But you know what? I'm looking outside. It's 70 degrees, and I just can't wait to in half an hour, get out there and go enjoy the last of almost summer weather.
What is that? What is going on? Is it usually 70 in fall, or have I just been not paying enough attention?
Well, you and I are at the same latitude, so not usually. Connor, where are you located?
I'm in Delaware.
You're in Delaware.
Oh, you're right over there too. You're on the highway.
It's 70 and sunny, and I'm not golfing. So, what am I doing with my life?
Security training, right? Isn't that it? Tell people what you're doing with it. You might as well answer the question while we're here. Give everybody a little introduction.
What am I doing? So I'm Connor. I'm the co-founder and the CEO at Phin Security. Quickest way to explain who we are and what we do. We are an MSP-focused awareness training platform. We make it real simple and really easy for you to run and manage awareness training programs and phishing programs in your clients, whether that's for compliance, as is the subject here, or whether that's just to create some more additional security.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Matt, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah. So Fort Mesa, I'm the founder. We're a service provider software platform. We support cybersecurity workflows. Our mission is to help service providers own their client's cybersecurity roadmap. We do that by making cybersecurity simple and easy from the perspective of deriving revenue for advanced interventions. So that's where we're at. But today I think we're going to talk about winning some sales. But hold that thought. We're going to jump into control of the day, do a little bit of cyber-ease.
Let's do it.
So with that,
I feel like for control of the day, you should have a little jingle and you press it like you did with the
this. There it is. Do I need a different jingle?
No, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
CIS Controls. This is a popular cybersecurity framework that we're looking at today. It's used all over the world, small businesses, large governments, everything in between. It's a framework that's built to stop cyber attacks. So everything in it is both right-sized for the type of organization you are and the size you are, but also from the perspective of if you start at the top of the list and you work your way down, you are always going to be implementing the cybersecurity tactics that are the most risk-reduced for the fewest amount of resources. So with that, we're in Group 2 today, inventory and control of software assets. Super important because if you don't know what software is in your environment, you can't really protect it. Now, as a quick primer on CIS, I did mention it's for organizations of all size. So what CIS does is they break down all their individual requirements or recommendations into implementation groups. Implementation group 1 is for small businesses. They are businesses that typically only use off-the-shelf software. They work in the cloud. They don't have any custom business applications. They do not have any servers, and they do not have any IT staff. If you're in IG2, That's probably because you have a custom business application, or you have IT staff, or maybe you're an organization that can't afford confidentiality risks. You're worried about customer privacy. Um, Perhaps you have some regulated data if it's not highly sensitive, or you're a small organization. But if you're an organization, you're in the healthcare space, you're a hospital, you are even a small health practitioner, you're in financial services, an insurance agency, wealth manager, or anyone that deals with regulated customer data, and that includes consumer data. If you have a marketing database, you're probably in IG3 with our most advanced cybersecurity interventions. And if you run any computer systems that a failure of that system security could impact human safety, absolutely must be in IG3. So as we look at inventory of software, there's some of these controls are going to be at the small business. Every organization in the world needs these, and some of these interventions are going to be, well, only if you've got dedicated IT staff, or maybe even dedicated security staff. So starting from the top, and there's 7 of these. CIS 2.1, establish and maintain software inventory. Basic list. You could use software to do this. Fort Mesa's got some software workflows around this. Your RMM tools have software workflows around this. There's many ways to collect lists of software in your environment. You need to collect that list so that you can do the second thing on this list. 2.2, ensure software is currently supported. So what we mean by currently supported is, if this is commercial software, are you paying a vendor for this, or did you let the license lapse? Are you getting updates? Does that vendor even still exist? That's one definition of supported. There is open source software out there, and if you're using open source software, you would want to make sure that it's coming from a reputable foundation or distributor that takes care and making sure that that software stays updated and secure. So, as an example, if you get your open source software from IBM, via Red Hat, right, that would be considered supported. If you download it from someone's individual repository maintained by an independent developer, that would be unsupported. So you should choose software appropriately, and you should do that with the list of software in your environment in mind. And then the third thing, which is the end of what small businesses should be doing, and in some cases, if you're a service provider, this is the end of the things you should be doing for all your clients, is addressing unauthorized software. So you have the list, you've made sure software is currently supported, but if software is unsupported, you do something about it. Or unauthorized. And what I mean by unauthorized is, if you find a game on a company computer and games aren't a company activity, you would want to make sure those are removed, right?
That's my favorite example. Sorry for interrupting, but that's my favorite example.
Yeah. So that's an example, because game developers are not always as security conscious as your enterprise software developers.
Can you imagine that? They want you to be able to get it on the device however possible.
Can you imagine having a Rune Light launcher on your work device, Zach?
I can't even imagine that, Connor. However, the company can decide, we authorize this activity for any reason that they want to, as long as it's an informed decision, right? So as an MSP or a service provider, your job is to make that list of software, make sure everything on that list is supported, and make sure you and your customers have decided on what should be running in their environment. And if something should not be running in their environment, get rid of it. So that's
What's the best way to get rid of it?
Uninstalling it's great. Uninstalling it's great, right? Yeah, okay. But you can use tools. You can use inventory analysis or vulnerability management tools to track what software's out there. You tell them to uninstall it. Did it actually disappear? Did it not actually disappear? Right? That's all a process that the service provider should have as part of their playbook, and it's the reason why customers are going to pay you money to keep them safe, right?
Yep.
So the second group here is for those sort of medium complexity security need customers. IG2, 2.4. Automate your software inventory. Now, for service providers, they've probably got automated tools out there that do this already. Great. Some people do not have these automated tools, and they have to create these lists manually. But if you did create the list manually, you should automate it. Okay. The other thing you should think about here is, if your software inventory automation tools do not inventory SaaS applications, you probably want to think about some way of figuring out what SaaS applications are in use in an environment. And there's automated ways to do that. But the absolute easiest, simplest way is just to ask people in your organization, what SaaS do you use? They'll give you a list, right? Make sure it's on the list. Make sure you guys have approved of this. Make sure you've done security reviews of these SaaS vendors. Make sure your customers understand whether that's a scary vendor or not, right? 2.5, allow listing authorized software. Now, again, there's software you can use to automate this. Threat Locker comes to mind in our industry. But the idea is PCmatic's another option. Create a list of software that's allowed, and if it's not on that list, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't matter if you install it or not. It's broken, right? Or it won't be installable. The other way you can control that without spending any money at all is don't give out administrative privileges or power user privileges to your users. Make them talk to IT or the service provider to install that software. That's an easy way to keep them on list, right? And then the same activity should be performed with software developers, because software developers tend to be lazy. That's their job, to get the software developed as fast as they can, as easy as they can, without wasting a ton of time. And what that means is they recycle code. They use open source libraries, right? They bring dependencies in. And so looking at that dependency chain and making sure that that library list is controlled in some way. Has anyone analyzed it? Has anyone locked it down? Are all of your developers allowed to bring new dependencies in? Or if you have multiple developers, is there someone that's maybe a little more senior that can really inspect that list and make risk decisions around it? Now, there's one control here that is considered an advanced intervention. It's a particularly painful one for MSPs because they love to automate stuff. But that would be to allow list authorized scripts. Now we're talking about things like PowerShell, for example. Only allow certain scripts to run. There's a few different ways to do that. The absolute simplest way is to disable PowerShell on those end computers. Disable command shell scripting entirely. In fact, if you look at a bunch of security playbooks written by really smart people, that's what they tell you to do. Now, your RMMs and your other automated scripting tools may be in contention with that. So if that's the case, then the way to solve that is to allow list scripts that are on that list and not allow other scripts. This can be very involved. It could take a lot of time. It might take specialized skill, and that's the reason why it's only recommended for end customers that are in IG3. So you may need to dedicate some extra resources towards that if you have that high security need customer. And with that, thank God that's only one page today. That's the end of software inventory control review.
Before we get too deep into anything too serious, I want to compliment Connor on his shirt. I didn't notice it at first, but you guys always have the best shirts.
Yeah, I won't turn around so you can see the back, but it has that quote from Morpheus. It says, "I only offer you the truth, nothing more."
There you go, man.
On the nape of the neck. Yeah,
awesome. I didn't even see the thing at the bottom. I only just saw the Matrix reference, and I was smitten with that. So there you go.
Yeah, I've had more than a few people at from other companies in the channel like, "Yo, my marketing team hates you guys." I'm like, oh, it's like, I immediately go to, are people at my company or who represent me like talking poorly about you? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's not what we want. Like, let's deal with it. They're like, no, I showed them one of your t-shirts and they're like, why aren't we doing this? Ours are garbage. I'm like, all right, I can't help you there. But
that's funny, man. The first time I met somebody from your team, their business card was a Pokemon card. So I was immediately impressed by that as well. You guys are consistently impressive on the marketing front.
You got one too?
Oh, there you go. There you go, man. What are you, holographic? I see you. Okay.
I'm a steel type Pokemon. So everyone's like, oh, are you calling yourself fat because your weight is 9,999 pounds? I'm like,
no, you're just rock solid.
Yeah. Have any of you looked at a steel type Pokemon card? Like, they're insane. Like 38 tons is what I should have put here.
That's awesome, man.
My favorite card is my co-founder's, and his superpower, like you have to put energies on it. Is called Instill Disappointment. And here's why. He's our CTO. And the subtext reads, flip a coin. If heads, tell the sales team we're not building that feature. If tails, tell the product team we are building that feature. It's like you're disappointing somebody.
That's awesome, man. That's funny. Matt, you were gonna say something about Pokemon, and I'm down to hear it. Dying to
I
hear it.
just Pokemon cards litter my house, but
Well, you
never
just got
having
gold. You got gold littering the streets over there, huh?
yeah, but I don't have any personal experience, so like my daughter was wearing a Pokemon shirt yesterday, but I don't get it, man.
We got Pokemon. We have T-shirts that look suspiciously close to Pokemon. I don't even want to say suspiciously close. It's
All right.
they're
Anyway,
thin T-shirts.
Pain points, right, guys? So like we're here to talk about like selling cybersecurity and winning, right? So I mean that in my mind, the way to win the cyber sale is to be talking to a customer that needs what you have, right? They have a pain point and you're there to solve it. But their pain points don't always smell like I need an MDR, right? Like, or I need a training awareness package, right? Like the pain points are usually not that like they don't usually correlate to a product that specifically. It's usually more like I just got hit with this audit, or like my policy got canceled, like my insurance policy. Like that's what real pain points feel like, right?
I audited our security posture, and it looks like I'm out of compliance with these points of the CIS controls. It's like, if your client's doing that for you, most of your job's already done. So just like go figure out what to buy for them. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So the other one is like, of course, I had a breach, right? That's a real one, right?
Or I think I've had one. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah. Is this a breach? Like I'm something strange is funny is happening. Yeah.
Connor, do you get folks asking for security training mid breach?
Yeah.
We've gotten asked for it post breach, and
that a lot.
Normally what they ask for is, hey, we were insert very close to wiring $80,000 to a vendor because we almost got phished. It's like, and if the bank wasn't open for an extra hour that day, they wouldn't have been able to cancel the. It's like, wow, we should have gotten money stolen and we didn't. That's when they're like, let's start training everybody about this.
Yeah, they take that 80 grand and they're like, well, this is free.
Or they did lose tons of money. Training. Or they did lose tons of money, but they won't always own up to it.
Yeah. If I were a more duplicitous vendor, it's like, maybe that's how I get business. You know, I just steal the money. I'm like, you now have 14 years of credits to use to pay for your training. I don't do that, but it's very illegal for anyone to listen. That would be incredibly illegal, and I won't do that.
What about your customer? Like I sell to service providers. I think you guys are in the service provider space too. Yep. So, our customers, right? They have customers, and those customers also have customers, right? So there's this chain of third party risk, and sometimes it comes from that direction, right? Like I lost this customer renewal, which is happening in the DoD like contract space right now, right? Or you thought you were on a lock for that 5-year renewal, but turns out you're not at that like whatever security level you need to be at, there's all sorts of medium and large organizations that are doing their third-party due diligence processes, and they're pushing down on their customers who happen to be the service provider's clients, right? And so, the service provider, they're going to win in the cyber sale because they're going to help the customer win in their sale, right?
Yeah.
It's that third-party due diligence satisfaction, and I think those are the pain points to keep in mind, right? I'm going to help you win, right?
Yeah. I just did a whole webinar on selling cybersecurity, and so that I'll spare people here from having to listen to my voice for about an hour straight, because not even I want that. It goes down to sell the value, not like sell the outcome, not the thing itself. So it's like, if you walk into a sale in my mind and you're selling, we're going to make you compliant, as opposed to, hey, what's the cost of not being compliant here? And I'll just choose your example. It's like, oh, I'm probably going to lose these, 40% of my revenue through these clients because they're, I need to be whatever CMMC3 compliant in order to continue working with them. It's like, all right, I'm not selling you compliance now. I'm selling that you get to keep 40% of your revenue. That much better sale, much easier as well, and they'll be much more committed to it.
Yeah, and those end clients, they jump through all sorts of hoops for compliance. Security compliance is sort of a new one, but I mean, people will jump through like crazy acrobatic hoops to avoid like $1,000 fee with the IRS, and they really don't want that fine because they feel that they failed as a business owner,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And we're now seeing that in cybersecurity, right? But it's manifesting as bigger than $1,000 fine, right? It's I'm gonna
Well,
lose my shirt.
well,
Yeah.
if you have, I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday about what it looks like from a brand perspective when something happens, and depending on what industry you're in, I think that range changes, right? If you're an MSP that's responsible for providing security or responsible for providing services around technology, and then all of a sudden there are issues. I mean, that's like I think I've said this before, but that's like you're saying I'm going to provide you with something and then you don't. I mean that would upset me as somebody receiving the service. So
You hit on a point that actually came up in another conversation I was having about starting point is should MSP sell cybersecurity? And I had this statement to say about it. It's like, let's get rid of that question and ask another one. If you sold an outcome to your client and didn't give it to them, what's going to happen? It's like everybody gets upset. Your business suffers,
oh
their
god,
business suffers. It's like, so my point was if you can sell cybersecurity, you better make damn sure that you can create security. It's like above and beyond just dishing out tools, kind of like what you were getting to earlier in this conversation is if your version of selling security or providing security is just dishing out tools that you have, you're not selling security. You went to some vendors talk about how to create security, which spoiler alert, you're 100% protected if you only use their tool. It's like it's just a lot of that's just garbage messaging. Is you really need to understand security before you bring tools involved because tools help you solve a problem.
yeah, tool. We've been using tools since rocks on other rocks, and it's always been to help us do a job. It's
Yeah,
never been the tool doing a job,
correct.
right? It's always been a tool is something that helps.
So,
Um,
well, but you're right. We have to understand security, but the there's very little that you actually need to understand about security to accomplish security, right? You need to understand. So security is a process, right? It's a process where you weigh the risks, right?
Yeah,
And you weigh the costs of reducing those risks, and you deliver the right amount of security, tooling, service, technology, people, process, compensating, whatever controls to keep that risk down to an acceptable level where people are safe, right? So that's security. That's what security is. Security is not a tool, right? So from that perspective, it's actually quite a complex um, orchestral result, right?
it
Where
is.
lots of things have to go right, but you don't need to be an expert in all those things because as a technician, the individual things are relative. They're right in the wheelhouse of an engineering firm, right? It's do thing A, support customer in thing B, right? Remember to do C. And the real secret, the secret sauce is delivering the right things at the right time at the right with the right amount, right? And so having the playbook to say, oh, this is a small business, they need this list of things. This
Yeah,
is a medium business, they need that list of things, and everyone needs this, right? That's and making sure that's aligned with your offering, right? Making sure that's aligned with your offering. So that's where compliance comes in, and customers get that, right? They deal with OSHA compliance, tax compliance, like
yeah,
labor compliance. You know, cyber compliance is just like another compliance in a list of compliances. And so you as the advisor, if you're just reading off the sheet of, oh, you're a small business, you need to do this, you'll get all the things, and the customer's going to get the right value. And as long as you didn't get led around by the nose of a single software vendor instead of, um, some cybersecurity working group that took like hundreds of people's of feedback to put from experts, right, to build a comprehensive framework. Like, don't cook the framework, right? Just
yeah.
follow it.
one thing I always say to not just MSPs, but everyone in general is you should always look at what kind of competing incentives exist for somebody to tell you something. So if you have this group of hundreds of security experts who volunteer their time, they're not getting paid for this, to create security frameworks and different resources and guides and knowledge for you to digest to understand security. Well, you could probably bet that their motivation is literally just to help everyone create more security. Pair that with the vendors. Maybe they have the exact same motivation in mind, right? They just want to help create additional security. However, you should not throw out that they're also incentivized to make a lot more money by getting you to sell more of their product. Some of that comes at any cost. Like if it results in more sales, they're probably just going to keep saying it. Every business has to exist to make more money. If you have investors, you got to make them happy. If you have shareholders, you got to make them happy. It's a vicious cycle.
But there's trusted advisors in industry,
Yep,
right?
there are.
We've got here in the U.S. we've got like the big free one is NIST, right? And they've got a ton of publications. It's a government product, so it's somewhat incomprehensible to people who haven't been indoctrinated, right? Because NIST doesn't have one standard; they've got hundreds, and they've got like a dozen security standards of note. So there's no such thing as NIST compliance because there's just like it's more like NIST's compliance. But there's CIS. They've just got one.
I'm going to steal that from anybody who ever hears me use that in the future. That I'm crediting it to Matt now.
I'm compliant with the NISTs. Which one? Just all of them.
I'm out there, man.
All the NISTs.
NIST.
Well, yeah. So NIST has standards that's like it's for top secret government like
bunch of them.
Compartmentalized information in an agency. They've got like that level, right? Good for the DoD, intelligence agencies, all that, and then they've got like. A small business might want this, like if they need an ounce, right?
What about all of the non-security things that NIST also does? Like there's like the standard of weights and measures or something. I was literally watching this entire 30-minute YouTube video on NIST standard peanut butter and how there's a reference material that NIST has somewhere deep in many vaults around the world, which is like if the world goes to crap and nuclear holocaust, it's like. There's a standard. We know what peanut butter is because NIST has a reference material for peanut butter in a vault somewhere. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Short side note here. My son asked me, Dad, why are Red Delicious apples so bad? They say delicious in them, and I explained to him.
That's marketing, son.
Well, no, I explained to him how the federal government after World War II put in place an emergency supply chain for food. And they subsidize Red Delicious apples in case of war, and when there's no war, the apples just end up getting dumped. And he was just like,
"Hey,
why don't they subsidize Gala apples or Fuji apples like that?"
Yeah, the good ones.
They're the great ones. Yeah.
I bet the Red Delicious were good back when they got subsidized.
No, I don't think they were ever good. They were big.
They had all that government money.
Zach, as the kids would say, Red Delicious apples are mid.
Oh God, I'm not a kid anymore.
All right. Back to security.
Well, Zach has a question here. Yeah. He says, should security stack be multiple vendors or a single one?
So I got my opinion on this, but why don't you guys take a stab?
I mean, I could take stabs all day long, but is the horse already dead? I don't know.
Well, I'll try stabbing the horse here. Maybe I can make a donkey out of myself. I mean, it's probably got to be multiple vendors. I mean, if you're going to do anything that's comprehensive, most people don't do lots and lots of things at a really, really high level because it takes a lot of energy to do something at a really high level. And most people don't have just surpluses of energy. So I think if you're an MSP that's trying to decide your stack, I mean, the first thing that I would say you should consider is, what do I want to be the best at? Figure out how to be the best at that, and then start thinking about, now, what do I need? And then figure out how to have really high levels of that. And if you can find one thing that does a lot of that, you're in a good spot, I think.
So
Get Matt correct.
that all applies. I have two answers to this one. So the first answer I'm going to say is I'm not aware of a vendor that makes a single pane of glass whose security products are worth like investing in at the exclusion of all others. That, as far as I know, that doesn't exist, and I'm a credentialed security expert, auditor, etc. It's not a thing that exists. Is fewer panes of glass better? Maybe. I think that as a service provider, an MSP specifically, your business is selling people by the hour and maybe making a little money on software, right? Hardware, etc. Your business is people.
People
You're
that know
delivering
things that other people don't know.
Yes. Well, or other people aren't efficient at, right? Your job is to be that IT outsourcer with economies of scale, right? And trusted advice, and that's your job, and to do the thing so that your customers don't have to do the thing. And so from that perspective, we have these things in the MSP industry called PSAs, right? Professional services automation. And the reason that exists at the core of the business is because your people are the core of your business, and that platform is what drives the people. So what I would say is I don't believe in a single pane of security glass in the MSP space. However, your PSA is the center of your business. If you can get insights from all of your security products into that system, it will allow your people to be incredibly effective. And I will say, if you're not in the MSP industry, there are other systems for this type of thing, right? If you're an enterprise, there's ServiceNow. There's also, and if you're an SSP and all you do is hunt threats all day, we have things. We have SOARs, right? But a SOAR is a tool that's sort of like the single pane of glass for security, but it's not fit for a small enterprise and it's not fit for a small service provider. So yeah, there's panes of glass. There's always going to be multiples of them. If your people are operating effectively, you've chosen well.
I would say there's a question to be asked also related to the question itself, which is what pane of glass, or who's looking at the pane of glass, right? Is it your back of house team that's like doing the work and they've got a couple of panes of glass, but the customer experience is one situation? Or does the customer have a couple places they go and your team has one in-house experience so your internal system is faster? Or are you trying to create one two-way mirror where everybody's just on the same thing? I mean, it all comes down to what level of complexity do you want to attribute to that piece of your business? How much time do you have to dump into that? And are there other more valuable low-hanging fruit things you can engage in first? Because you could always improve something forever. I think even before we got on this call, Connor and I were talking about how you may have something that you want. When you get to it, you'll ultimately want something more. The same will be true for security or building your team or your business. As soon as you hit that goal of being this size MSP, you're going to find a new goal. As soon as you have a level of competency with your stack, you're gonna want to have a new level of competency with something else. So I mean, it's all a cost equation of all those different things, I think.
Yeah, and to follow up on what I said earlier about I'm not aware of that product existing, the reason why is because security goes far beyond MDR. In CIS, which is the framework we looked at the beginning of this stream, there's 18 different domains. Most security products do not even cover a full domain. For the ones that they might even cover part of a second domain or a third domain. There's no one that hits even half, right? There's no one that hits even a third that I'm aware of all those requirements. It's a lot of people and process stuff. There's products that do all sorts of things. It's a security stack is a stack of people and processes and technology, right?
With tools they're using.
Yeah.
It's more than just the technology. That is a debate I got into with Jason Slagle and Ray Orsini, and
really?
they were both on different sides of an argument. It was, what should an MSP do if their customer isn't willing to invest in security in such a way that it creates the security the MSP would like? Jason was on the side of get rid of them, fire them. Ray was on the side of, well, if most security at small business level is people and process. How much money do you really have to spend to create a little more security? And that created some really good conversation around it. To answer Zach's question, I think your statement is right, Matt, about the at the exclusion of all others. That would be a really powerful statement. And in my experience, platform players that have try to cut into multiple different segments of cybersecurity and provide best in class solutions, they're not best in class solutions when compared to a company that will focus on exactly one, especially when it comes to the unique use case an MSP has. Enterprises and MSPs are just different enough in the way they need to deploy security tools that if you don't have an MSP focused tool, you feel it. You feel it in the way the platform runs, in the way it's automated or not automated, in the way you can or cannot access data and your
And the way your
clients.
team has to engage with
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah, I mean that
the inherent
there's also
understanding of
panes of glass that have like it seems like dozens or hundreds of security features in them. But if you take a security analysis lens to it and you look at what it does and doesn't do, a large portion of those features don't actually satisfy security problems that exist. Or
Yeah.
at least, like if you have 12 different features that solve the same security problem, right, in 12 different ways, that's really just one security outcome you've taken care of. Like there's all the other hundreds of practices, right? So I mean, I think that maybe in the future, like people keep thinking AI is going to solve this. I'm not buying the AI thing in the near term. But maybe in the future, we're going to see vendors more coherently chase standards rather than lists of things they were sexy to develop, right?
Yeah. I took a picture. I was at DattoCon and I took a picture of after hours. I like to roam through the vendor hall to look at all the marketing and to sometimes get some cool T-shirts because I don't want to take away from vendors' ability to talk to clients because I'm not going to be one of them. And I looked at this one vendor. I don't even remember the name.
you said that so politically just now. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I do the same thing, by the
Tactful.
way.
I do the same thing. And also sometimes you'll see people like Matt. It's like you'll see others doing the same thing
Yeah,
after hours when everyone's away at the party. It's like you
I
get
do
to
the
talk
same
with them.
thing, but I do it because I don't want to have the damn conversation.
No, I just genuinely want to learn from. Like I'll see what kind of
Yeah, I
marketing
wanna
material they're
learn.
putting out, what they're saying.
Exactly.
I took a picture of this one vendor at DattoCon, and it looked like they had inserted AI into every single sentence of
Wow.
all of their material.
Well, there are vowels. I mean, maybe they just a lot of.
It was space AI space. It was yeah. And I was
Well,
just like,
someone clearly told them to AI wash it.
yeah, it was like it was crazy. And I made a statement. I went to Black Hat and I looked, okay, what does the world of cybersecurity look like outside of the MSP marketplace? And I can sum up basically every single vendor in the following phrase. We use AI to help with our MXAIDR process so we can do better threat hunting. It's like, what does that mean? All of you just said that to me. And I was like, I'm not that dumb. I'm not that smart, but like, I don't know what this does. It's just like, this is just stupid. Like, come on, just tell me what you do.
Yeah.
So we have a tiny little ounce of AI in our product, and we don't talk about it at all because it's like I feel embarrassed to even be like to go there. Right?
You're ashamed. Yeah, we
I-
have
I-
AI too.
Yeah, it's just it's not relevant to the conversation, and I don't want to be lumped in with all the garbage AI.
Well, this is a really good answer to Zach's question here. So if a vendor says they do run, if somebody mentions AI, there should be a reason. It just shouldn't be to make the statement, oh, we have AI in here. It's like, great. What does that do for me? What does that accomplish better than
what's
without
the
AI?
why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all things, it's a trade-off, Zachary. I would say if they do say that, you don't necessarily need to run, but try to evaluate it through a lens of you're getting it. There's trade-offs. For that single pane of glass, what are you not getting? It's probably not best-in-class solutions at all various different companies, but maybe it's worth it.
Well, and the right thing to do is if you hear something that makes you think, the right thing to do is ask questions, not run, and then determine whether or not your vendor is knowledgeable about what they're talking about. You should run the second you feel like somebody is talking in such a way that they don't actually know what they're talking about. As soon as you have somebody that's not willing to be like, I need to check on that, or, oh, I don't actually know, or, oh, well, this, like, they're not going to be upfront with you, and you don't want to be in a relationship with a vendor that's going to hide the truth or shade things that you might need to know. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I don't know if I would run when somebody says they're a single pane of glass, but I might ask questions and then evaluate and then make my moves based on that.
yeah, I think I look at the rather than look at the vendor's product, it is ask questions. I work with security frameworks for a living. And the reason why I work with them is because it's the most efficient way to deploy security resources. Like really smart people analyze the attack space, like the actual attacks happening in the real world right now, and they've decided, okay, of all the security things you could do to protect a company, what's the cheapest thing to stop this attack vector? Okay, what's the cheapest thing to do with that attack vector, right? And they go around the whole security castle, and then they say, okay, the attacker's broken through that layer. What can we do to compensate for that? What's the cheapest way to do that? When you take that approach, what you end up with is an incredibly efficient deployment of security resources. And so it's not just, it might sound good when a vendor gives you like 20 features instead of 5 features, but it might also be a waste of money if it costs $1 more and doesn't satisfy the security outcomes required as part of a comprehensive security plan. And if you are analyzing and trying to mix and match controls yourself, you are almost for sure going to do it in an inefficient way. I would do it in an inefficient way if I didn't have great guidance to follow where people have already done all these risk calculations. So ask the vendor the questions. Do they do the exact thing you need to build that castle? Or is their board like 2 feet short and there's a gap, right?
The most important thing to add to that, Matt, in relation to asking those questions, is know what you need before you go into the conversation. If you get to the sale and you don't know what you'd actually need and you're just hearing things that sound good like AI or glass or whatever, maybe you need to go back over here and say, well, wait, what is it that my client needs from me explicitly? Not like the space, but the bullseye of what they need. So then you can ask the question. And if you find yourself like, oh, I don't really know, go back over here.
Yeah. So it's, let's go back to the pain points that we started with, right? Third party due diligence, there was a breach, cybersecurity insurance, right? Was there another one that we talked about? Regulatory like pressure, right? These are all things that actually have specific lists of requirements. Even if you talk about a breach where you're like, well, you're not trying to stop an attack, right? There actually are legally mandated things you're supposed to do to deal with a breach, right? Like no one should be freestyling this stuff at this point. There's really great guidance out there, and in many cases it's not optional. Like someone else has already made this law, right? And if it's not law, it might be contractual, right? It's like written into a contract. Just those are the requirements, right? Map them to a security framework. That's the easiest way to get over to the product side and evaluate what products you need and what people processes you need to solve that issue, and tell the customer you got it. Hey, I got this whole pile of stuff. It's going to take care of cybersecurity insurance because, here's all the mapping. Like you don't need to even detail with them. Just say like, I did the work, right? This is what you need. Trust me.
And that's what they want to hear you say. They want to hear you say, I did the work. I went through and I looked and I went through the applications and I matched up to this. Because they don't have the time to do it. So they're trusting you to advise them that this is the shit you need to do to be okay on the insurance app, right? So they want to hear you say, yeah, it's good because of X. And if you don't have that to give to them yet, then you got to do a little bit of preparedness on your own end.
So I don't think we have any other questions here.
I've got one for Connor. What
Yeah.
do you see on your side? I mean, you're in the intelligence space. You're helping people learn, right? No, seriously. I mean, you have a platform that has information.
Uh-huh.
This is an industry where the biggest thing that people need is educated labor. So you've got something that's really important to that. So you're having people come to you from every different angle of the situation. What are you hearing most? What are the biggest stressors? What recommendations do you have for folks?
Biggest stressors from MSP have almost nothing to do with like the outcome right now, and it's everything to do with my clients have cyber insurance, and I don't know if I'm helping them be completely compliant. My clients have other compliance requirements, and frankly, I don't know enough about security to know what's going on, or general anxiety around if my clients get hacked, I'm probably going to get thrown to the curb. And my clients don't want to be secure because they don't want to pay the money that I know is necessary, or I feel like there's a gap, but I can't tell them that because then they also won't be my client. It's just like all of these pressures mounting. So what I would say to anyone feeling those pressures is, the pedantic trope of go back to the basics. And I'll give you an example of how I wish MSPs would approach Fin. Every time an MSP would reach out to us and say, I need awareness training, my first two questions would be, tell me what's going on that you need it now. And Mac does that thing now. And the second is, send me an Excel spreadsheet of your acceptance criteria. And by the time we meet, I'll have gone through it and we can have a conversation about why we do or do not satisfy all of your requirements. And acceptance criteria wasn't something created by compliance frameworks or by the CIS controls. It should be as simple as, I need access to all of my clients through a single dashboard. Okay, yes or no. I need the ability to do SSO integration and delegate access at multiple levels to all of my admins. Why or why not? And that would create a conversation, not around awareness training, but around, you've already identified a need in your business as an MSP. You are evaluating me at my company if we can specifically help you. Not if we can help you do something, but if we can specifically fill a need that you already know you have. And for those for those MSPs that wouldn't have that acceptance criteria to give to me, I'd send them my own. It was like, out of all of the hundreds and hundreds of partners we work with, here's the most comprehensive list that I believe every MSP should be asking all of their vendors for security awareness. Go use this as well with your other security providers. And we don't even do all the shit that I'd ask them. Like, it's not about creating a list of things that I know we can do secretly. And, oh, of course we're going to be the best if we build our own measuring stick. It's not about that. It's about helping.
If I could build my own measuring stick, man, everybody would be 5'6".
Yeah. So I'm 5'7", so I feel short kings rule the world here, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But it's just as simple as that. Is you can't approach your client and selling something you haven't identified as a need already. It's like, going back to, in order to sell the value, you got to know what's actually going to create this value, and that starts with knowing what the need really is. As Matt said already here today, it's like, do you solve the same control 12 different ways, or do you solve 12 different controls? The answer to that question is very important in knowing what you need, what else is left to do.
Awesome.
I'm sold.
Well, Matt. Yeah, Matt, tell us what's next, man. I think we've covered a lot of different great angles here.
Well, we don't have a lot of questions today. I think we when we're in workshop space, we get to sort of like work with people on their specific needs. Reach out if you want to workshop some of these cyber sales issues. It's a different measure of compliance for different industries, different requirements. The thing that I absolutely love to see, when people are in that learning mode is, hey, have you done this stuff in house? And I'm sure, Connor, you like to see that too. Have you taken the training, or is this just for your clients, right? And I think as service providers educate themselves, on these requirements, it makes it easier to deliver, to end customers.
In the spirit of the title of this conversation, winning the cyber sale, if there are any MSPs listening, there is no better way to remove objections from the sales process than when they ask, why did you choose this vendor? We evaluated X number. This is the one we decided was the best that we decided to use internally as well. It's like, if this is good enough for us, it's good enough for you. Instantly gets rid of the objection. Well, can we bring our own DNS filter or whatever? It's like, nope, we chose one that we use, and you either take it or you leave it. It's like,
because you did the research, right?
Yes.
And that's the qualifying thing again. You've answered the question. You know the answers to the question.
Now, I will say, do not choose a vendor because you like them and then tell them you chose them because they're the best. There needs to be a modicum of defensibility here, right?
Or it could be we like them because, right?
Yeah, like I said, as long as they do X, Y, and they're the most transparent vendor we've ever worked with. So if there's ever additional risk that they're introducing into our environment, and as a result, your environment, we know they'll be upfront about it with us as opposed to other vendors in this industry.
Yeah, or they always answer the phone. I know that I
Yes.
can always get a hold of them, right?
Yeah. That's a thing. That is a thing.
Huge thing. I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait X number of days for responses. I mean, usually when people have issues, they like to have them solved.
All right, I think we could probably wrap, guys. So let's do quick plugs, real quick. Connor, you want to take a swing?
Sure. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just Connor-Swalm. If you want to connect with our company as well, we have a podcast called Gone Fishing where we talk about not only CIS controls. We've had Matthew on some of our episodes to talk about compliance and security, daunting topics for most. And our website, if you're interested at all in what we do and how we could potentially help, it's phinsec.io. That's PHINSEC.io. Love to connect with you and have a conversation if you want.
Awesome.
Sounds good. And Matt Fish, founder of Fort Mesa. We help you own your client's cybersecurity roadmap. Zach, dial us out here.
Well, if you're somewhere where it's 70 degrees, go outside and touch a tree. Thanks for joining us on another Friday afternoon. Check out the YouTube with all the educational stuff. Check out Finn with the educational stuff too. And like us on LinkedIn. Come back next week. We're having a conversation around zero trust. We're having some folks from Evo Security join us, Nick Wolf and Michael Roth. Going to be an awesome educational conversation. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks again, Connor.
Anytime.
Bye, guys.